Hi everyone, this is Suzanne Wagner. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to the Numerology and the Astrology for June 19th, 2020. If you add all those numbers together, you get a pure 20. If you add the 2 and the 0 together, you get a 2. Now, the number 2 is the number of negative mind and critical mind. And so we're headed towards this solstice tomorrow and the solar eclipse tomorrow. It's a big day. Tomorrow is going to be a really big day. But as we come into these energy fields, you feel it more and more and more. And on a numbers level, it says that the negative energy is increasing and building towards something. And while I would love to try to shift this negative mind number 2 towards the transcendent number 11, to add the 1 and the 1 together and to actually put it as an 11 instead of a 2, I think that's probably not going to work right now. So sometimes, no matter what you try to do, you notice the complex energies of the mind, and it feels as if your mind is a prison and your soul is trapped in the looping of your left brain. It takes great self-discipline to not let the soul become the slave to the mind. After all, the soul is wiser and broader in its perspective. The mind is limited by so many things in this dimension, but the soul is eternal and timeless. That is why you cannot trust the mind, especially when it goes into overt negative patterns and fear. When that happens, it is just the ego protecting itself and attempting to separate and divide. What the mind does not understand is that it can often be the instigator of more problems, not less. It can escalate issues, not diffuse them. That is why calm minds need to be in control of certain situations. People that are inflammatory in their words and actions are not helping anything. So, you can tell based on the news and what's going on that, police officers are quitting. There's a lot of negativity being directed at them. And so even really good, decent police officers, and I know many of them, it puts a lot of pressure on the good ones when there's a few bad ones. And so, yes, it is important that police departments get rid of bad apples in the middle of this, because right now with this volatility, it's just not going to work. I mean, they really need to just start screening people and looking at people from really different eyes right now to de-escalate the situation. But you can imagine that it puts, other police officers in a really tricky place. And so they feel this negative energy coming at them. And, who wants to live with that? It's like, especially when you're putting your life on the line on a lot of levels. Same thing with the military. If you feel like you've got a government that's not supporting you and not supporting your health and well-being and not supporting rehab and not supporting retirement and not supporting all these other things, you can imagine, it creates a lot of negativity and it creates a lot of an energy. And those energies fester and build up over time. And that's why right now I would really like everybody to be super conscious and aware of their words and what their mind is doing. So to really notice that if your mind is being reactive, protective, defensive, that means that you've got something going on that's fear-based, or it's pushing up against your beliefs. And my beliefs are not always right. I don't think anybody's are. My favorite phrase is that this is what's true for me at the moment from the level of awareness that I have right now at this moment. And I believe that I will continue to evolve and get more awareness. And so I leave myself some wiggle room to allow myself to evolve. So I try not to lock myself down into like, this is the truth and this is the only truth. That's just a stupid idea to do. Okay, so the astrology today. Tomorrow is the very big day, obviously. But today, the moon is in chatty Gemini, and your curiosity and mental activity will increase. You may want to keep things short and sweet and to the point. The sun aligns with the North Node in Gemini, and it is going to make simple things more challenging than you expected. It will be another way to grow by learning patience and structure. It is through effort that we improve, and in that way, we will eventually get to our goals. Mars and Jupiter moving into sextile tomorrow, and you will feel a bit of enthusiasm to make those big changes that you have been resisting. Making that choice to do what you know you need to do will help you see slow improvement. Your courage is going to increase, and it will help you direct this intense energy in a constructive way. There is a gentle spirit of competition, and it's pushing you to take on some new challenges no matter what. You have your choices and actions I want you to have your choices and actions be based on high vibrating principles that hold moral value for everyone. Mars is in Pisces, and it supports you having a deeper yearning to help those that are down and suffering. It's a great trait at this moment. So, my quote for today: a house without windows is a prison. A country without freedom is a dictatorship. A life without compassion is suffering. A heart without love is alone. Okay, my blog for today. We are all birds in man-made cages. Some are gilded in gold and jewels. Some are cages that the mind constructed to keep you safe. But a cage, no matter how pretty or the reason, is still a cage. And those already in self-constructed cages will have no compassion for the suffering of others. So humanity is caged in this third dimensional realm. Some also are caged even more tightly by their own mind. Beliefs are small cages that ensnare the senses and restrict perception. That restriction will then translate into situations that impact the physical body, health, and well-being. I do not believe that it needs to be so, but I believe that it is the habit and the experience of pretty much everybody. I contemplate that the limitations of this dimension are there to help us find new ways and means to expand love in this reality. And that takes tremendous work and effort. You are fighting against perceived limitations of those in this physical reality. But the external restrictions allow for expansion into other areas that perhaps you did not realize needed expanding. Sometimes you need something to challenge you and to push against. And that is why I try to look at those things that I perceive as problems, and instead I attempt to see them from new eyes. Perhaps those challenges are the places that I need to push against in order to maneuver myself out of this holographic playground and into the places of conscious freedom. So today when I was looking at this, the card that came up for me was actually the Hanged Man card in the Aleister Crowley deck. And if you look at this, it looks like a whole bunch of boxes. And notice that this sort of looks like Samson, with his hair has been cut off. And when his hair is cut off, he has no power. And so hair represents that psychic energy, that goes out, that, our hair stands on end when we're around a ghost or something. And so hair is an extension of our spidey sense, right? And so when his intuition has been cut off because of the religious dogma that created boxes of perceptions and belief systems, what happens is he loses his power. And then the snakes of wisdom at the bottom lay coiled and sleeping. And then we are in suffering. We are absolutely in suffering because this card is a number of sacrifice and struggle. Notice that the legs look like they're in a number 4. And if you turn the card right side up, you can see that probably even a little bit easier. And so this card is associated with the Emperor card. And the Emperor card also has the man's legs in the shape of a 4. So these two associate with each other. So this is about disempowerment, okay, whereas the Emperor is about empowerment. So how the mind disempowers the energy, your intuition, your grounding, your stability, and how beliefs become these massive major blocks that we have inside. And, I'm always amazed with people that, they get so locked down about this is the truth and this is what I believe and this is the only way and there is no other way. Da, 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 da. I just can't even believe it half the time. Like, if you look at this world, there are a million ways to do things. There are millions of bugs. There's varieties on absolutely everything. There are many pathways to God. There is not one pathway to God. And, that's what this card represents, is like how we get these beliefs, and those beliefs, we get so tied into them that they anchor us into a particular reality that we are fond of. But in doing that, we completely limit ourselves. So I can't tell you how many gurus I worked with that they figured something out. They, figured out a tool, a technique, a system, a mantra, a meditation, and it works. It absolutely works. But then they identify it, which is the mind again. They identify it and they create a whole dogma or a religion or a belief structure around that. And then enroll everybody in doing that. And then what happens is that teacher doesn't grow. That person doesn't grow. And if that teacher or person doesn't grow, then what happens is their organizations fall apart. They crash and burn and they fall apart because they're based on a specific thing or a series of specific things. But if the teacher refuses to grow, then the system also can't grow. The techniques can't grow. And the people inside can't grow and evolve. I remember that there was a person that I knew that was really amazing, and she was, after the guru died, she was given the ashram, and she took it on for a year, 2 years, and then she basically brought everybody in and said, just want everybody to know that the guru is dead, and I am not the guru, and this isn't life. This isn't living. This is stagnating. And you need to go live your life. You need to go take the tools and techniques that the teacher gave you, and you need to go live your life and integrate those tools into life. But sitting here, not accomplishing anything and not doing anything and looping and looping and looping on the same thing over and over again is actually not going to give you the enlightenment that you're looking for. And so she said, so I'm leaving. And this thing's going to fall apart and disband, and you're, going to leave. And so it was torn down and disbanded and stuff. I love that because I think that's honest. I think that's honest. And I think that there are teachers that have tremendous techniques and tools, and they are tools. They are techniques and tools. They are not absolutes. And if the tool matches the frequency that you're on, it'll work for you. But if that tool does not align energetically with something that you can experience or heal, it actually just won't even make any sense to you. It will feel like nothing. It'll feel like nothing. And I've spent many times doing tools and techniques of teachers and facilitators that were brilliant for like hundreds of people. It's not like I'm saying the tool didn't work. It's like it worked for hundreds of people, thousands of people, but it didn't work for me because I didn't have that particular glitch, or I didn't have that mechanism, or I didn't have that wound, or I didn't have that belief that needed to be unraveled. And so we're in this time where it's so much about looking about beliefs and the boxes that we have allowed to define ourselves, our identity, who we are, our reality. And I think that all of those beliefs are crashing. And I think they need to crash, because I think underneath you will discover something really wonderful, which is a more expanded mind, a more open mind, and more open belief system. So, okay, thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate it. Bye.